This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices, and you can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. All right, Avram, I believe you have a show and tell for us today.
Yes, I do. So This is the laptop I'm reviewing right now. This is the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Carbon 10th gen laptop. So Gen 10 means it has been on the market now for 10 years or so, maybe
Wow.
more. I don't know if there was I think pretty much there's been a new one every year. And it looks quite, on the outside, it looks quite similar to what you've seen before from ThinkPad X1 Carbon. But for those folks who are not familiar, X1 Carbon has long been the productivity notebook of choice. I own one that's like the 6th gen one. The reason why these are so great is because they are super light and thin, but they give you a lot of flexibility, great typing experience, good screen, lots of ports, and usually good battery life. So this one here is powered by an Intel 12th gen processor. You can get it with up to a Core i7. Now, remember, these are the new and mobile Alder Lake 12th gen Alder Lake processors, which means that they have some of the cores are performance cores and some of the cores are efficiency cores. And the efficiency cores run at a lower clock speed to allow the performance cores to run at a higher one, and to hopefully save some battery. Now, Lenovo has made, by having that in the picture, I look dark. Lenovo has made an interesting choice here with the new generation, which is that they are using a higher wattage processor than they have used before. They are using a Intel P series processor, which can go up to 28 watts TDP when they were normally using a U series that was a 15 watt processor. That means that these use more power and promise more performance. So one of the things that we are still testing here is, what is the battery life really like on this? What we saw on the X1 Yoga, which is the sibling of the X1 Carbon, it's the X1 Carbon, but as a 2-in-1, what we saw on that is that the battery life was actually significantly less than last year's model, because probably because the CPU uses more power. On this unit here, we're going to retest the battery again to see if it gets, to see if we can get some more, consistency from the test. But, we were getting like 7.5 to 8.5 hours battery life on this, which is okay. But, prior years we've had ones that got, 12 or 14 12 to 14 hours. So, that's, that's what we have been seeing. But aside from the question about the battery life, which is still, all day battery life, this is a really, seems so far like a really excellent notebook in line with the ThinkPad tradition. For one, the keyboard is still fantastic keyboard, great travel, great springy feel. Um, has the track point, which I love. Not everybody does, and if you don't, there's still this really generously sized touchpad here. Um, the screen is actually a really good high point on this. The base screen, which is what this has, is 1920 by 1200. So Lenovo has gone to 16 by 10 aspect ratio screens. So you're getting more vertical real estate. Not easy to see on camera, but you're getting more vertical real estate than you used to with 1920 by 1080. So you can fit a little more work on the screen without scrolling, which is a big deal. Um, you you can get the screen with you can get a higher res option. You can get it with up to a 4K display, and you can get it with 2.8K OLED screen if you wish. However, those things will probably give you lesser battery life. So definitely, I would go with the base model screen, which is very bright. It measured over 400 nits on our tests, which is great. It measured 405 nits on our tests, and I was using it this afternoon, and it's got an anti-glare coating, and sunlight was shining in through my window, and which is usually killer when you're trying to look at a laptop screen. But it was bright enough for me to see the content pretty well, which is good because if you've ever worked in an office where there's sun shining through the window, or you've perhaps tried to use your laptop outside, having that brightness and anti glare is really good. The color quality is excellent. This managed over 100% of the sRGB color gamut, so that is really good. The NVMe Ssd in here, really fantastic transfer rate, got up to 1,461 megabyte per second transfer rate on our test, which is reading and writing at the same time. So it's better, it's a tougher test than those, things like Crystal Disk Mark that are theoretical performance and only measure read and write one at a time. So it it even was able to do some lightweight gaming, playing Civilization 6 at about 40 frames per second. Uh, so so I think so you're getting really really solid, strong performance. Obviously, this is made to a really high build quality standard. Um, made to take some dings and drops. It's zero point 0.6 inches thin, but still finds room for two USB Type A ports. So it's got two USB. It's got one USB A here, another USB A on the other side with a full size HDMI port. So you can plug right into an HDMI cable, and two Thunderbolt 4 ports, which you could use for charging or docking or anything like that. And optionally, you can get facial recognition login or fingerprint login. And this weighs just 2.48 pounds, so extremely light, lighter than some of the competitors like the XPS 13. You can get it now on Lenovo starting at 1319. I would recommend configuring this with 16 gigs of RAM and at least a 512 gigabyte SSD. It's available with 256, starting at 256 gigabyte SSD, which is too small, and 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is too small. You can also get it with 32 gigs of RAM, and as I said, you can get it with up to a 4K display, and you can also get it with built-in 5G connectivity if you wish.
Wow, that's a lot of customization on that little guy.
Yes, I mean, like a lot of Lenovo ThinkPads, you can actually custom configure it online. So
Yeah.
if you go to Lenovo.com right now, you can choose those features. Choosing the my kind of dream config of this would be to get it with the Core i7 processor and 32 gigs of RAM, uh, which because I really like having a lot of RAM. And by the way, this is really important to note: the RAM is not upgradable. So whatever you get is what you're going to have. So it's soldered to the motherboard. You can upgrade
Boo.
you probably can upgrade the SSD. I'm going to open it up and check, but you're supposed to be able to upgrade the SSD. So you could theoretically save some cash, buy it with a 256 gig SSD, and then upgrade it on your own because they charge a ridiculous amount to move up from 256 to 512. It's like $250 to go from 256 to 512. Although with all the coupons Lenovo has, it's really more like $150 now. So when I configured this with 512 and a 32 gigs of RAM and a Core i7, it was 1855, which is not bad for a laptop of this stature. Of course, if you were to move up to a higher res screen or a or you were to add the 5G or a bigger SSD, then it would cost more.
But yeah, I mean, with that configuration, that price is not bad at all.
Yeah, and if you just get it with 16 gigs and a Core i5 and
Hmm.
512, it's $1,500.
Okay.
So, and a Core i5 is perfectly fine. I mean, I don't, to be honest, I don't see the point of spending more to go from a Core i5 to a Core i7 um, on a laptop, especially an ultra portable laptop like this. You're not, in fact, I really don't see that why necessarily Lenovo went to a higher wattage part. I mean, it's supposed to provide a little bit more performance, but ultimately, when you're buying a laptop like this one, you good productivity performance does not really mean like super processing power. Like what you want most is a good keyboard, a good screen, a lightweight laptop, and good battery life, and performance that doesn't get in the way of your working. But you're probably not going to be editing 4K videos on a laptop like this. You're probably not going to be gaming on a laptop like this. If you're coding, you don't need a lot of processing power. If you're doing web surfing and productivity work of various kinds, you don't need a lot of processing power. So so honestly, I wouldn't spend money to up the performance. I would spend money to have a fair amount of RAM because if you get a lot of tabs open, that's when you're going to be using a fair amount of RAM.
Yeah, for sure. We we all know how memory hungry the browsers can be these days.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, like I'm doing a new, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I'm doing a
Mhm.
new desktop build this weekend, and I I only was able to get 32 gigs of RAM for it, and I'm kind of
Mhm.
sad. Like I want 64 because I don't know if I can. I mean, what I actually really want to do, I don't know if you've ever tried this. I think I'm going to try this like this week. Is I'm going to try to set up a log to see how much RAM I use all day long
That's
to
interesting.
figure out how close I go to 32 or 16 because I feel like I need 64 gigs of RAM or something, but that might just be my uneducated opinion. There's no question that nobody. I'm just gonna say this: unless you're buying unless you're on a really tight budget, nobody should
Mhm.
have 8 gigs of should buy a new computer with 8 gigs of RAM. Nobody should should buy a computer with 8 gigs of RAM 2022. Like that, unless you're buying a Chromebook for your kid or something, like it should be 16 or more. But um, whether you need more than 16, whether you need more than 32 for just opening a ton of tabs and things like that, I guess we'll see.
That sounds like a fun project. I know
Yep, I'm going to start logging that and find
I know
out.
when I edit what my RAM goes up to, but somehow web browsers take more RAM than video rendering, which
Yeah.
annoys me to no end. Anyway, obviously, this isn't up yet because you're going to be doing some
Yes.
testing, right?
Yeah, so next week, I would expect by next week we'll have a full review up of the ThinkPad X1 Carbon on tomshardware.com.
Fantastic. Well, I always love to see the updated version of this laptop in particular. We've done this a couple of times now. And
Yeah,
I always love to see the...
I review it. I review it every year.
Yeah.
So it's how it is. So we will we'll have some final numbers on the site, but for now, it's a very promising laptop, and I definitely recommend folks check out the review when it comes out, and consider. And this is definitely one to consider getting.
Very cool. Well, as always, Avram, I appreciate it. I love seeing this laptop every year, and I can't wait to see the final. And of course, I look forward to what we talk about next. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Piltch Point with Avram Piltch. If you did, please subscribe to our channel, and of course hit the notification bell since subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. And if you've got topics you'd like us to discuss in the future, we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you don't want to follow us on YouTube, that's okay. There's a lot of other ways that you can follow our content. You can find all of that by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all the different ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.